You cannot live as a moral person without these fundamental faith principles. That gets us nowhere. That just means be a good person. Is religion good or bad for society? So this is going to be a little bit different because typically when we're talking about religion, I am talking about, is this true? Are these claims true? Does God exist? So on and so forth. But the question here is different this time. The question is religion good or bad for society? As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Without further ado, let's start. I'm not going to go into backstory too much because most people will be aware of who you are, and there'll be a lot of
yeah. So this, of course, it moves to the other guy, but obviously we know Ben. We know Ben Shapiro, but the other guy on the left here is Cosmic Skeptic, aka Alex O'Connor. Went to Oxford, very smart dude. Does debates and talks about philosophy all over the world, actually, but especially in the US and the UK.
Story too much because most people will be aware of who you are, and there'll be a lot of fanboys and girls out there watching. But let's talk about something that, Ben, you have spoken on, and Alex, you have responded to, this idea of the atheist delusion. Ben, could you sort of concisely, if you can, talk about what you mean by the atheist delusion?
Sure. So the atheist delusion. All right. Ben Shapiro's the Atheist Delusion.
I should start off by saying I don't actually think that it's possible to prove the existence of God. I'm also not a believer that you can disprove the existence of God. I don't think that logical argumentation is going to get you there one way or another. And so I'm not going to try and do that with Alex today because I think that
and again, this is, that's definitely a conversation that I love having. I'll do it all day. But that is not what we are looking to do here. Prove this exists or doesn't exist. Is religion good for society?
People would have been able to provide dispositive proofs, then people would believe them. And if people were able to provide dispositive proofs that God does not exist, then people would be more apt to believe those as well.
No lube.
What I think is an atheist delusion is that it is possible to live ideologically purely in a way that does not rely on fundamental faith principles. I say faith.
And again, I'm going to agree with Ben that you cannot live as a moral person without these fundamental faith principles. That gets us nowhere. That just means be a good person. So I'm expecting Alex to agree that the values that we have come from religion and religions in general. But again, that is not what we are talking about today. Hey, shout out to Dan Jensen starting off the show hot with our pumpkin flavored. Is it pumpkin? Duck flavored. Duck recipe. And as you guys know, every single super chat comes with a treat for Morty. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much, sir. We also got Zippy in the building. What is good? Welcome to the party. Thank you again, Dan.
Principles, we're not going to in a way that does not rely on fundamental faith principles. When I say faith principles, I'm not going to make the claim that those faith principles are direct from Sinai or that those faith principles require the New Testament, for example. I'm going to make the claim that there are a bunch of principles upon which we base ourselves that are external to what we know about nature and evolutionary biology. And that many of the things that Alex does in his daily life, for example, are going to be things that rely on principles that are external to a philosophy that would assume a lack of the supernatural, a lack of the extra natural. So some of those principles, for example, are free will. So every day we get up, we believe, virtually all of us, whether we...
Those of you who know that you're smuggling in an a priori claim that free will exists. It very well may, but you have not proven that. And so we don't have to prove the existence of God to prove whether or not religion is good for society. But if you're taking free will as a starting point, and I don't believe in free will, well, then we haven't gotten anywhere.
Whether we say we believe it or not, we actually act in ways that betray the idea that we believe that we have control over our own actions, at least to a certain extent, and that control makes a difference in the world. And that's what gives us purpose. It's what allows us to wake up in the morning and make the decision to do what we believe is right or what we believe is wrong. That the principles of right and wrong are external to evolutionary biology. So both of these principles that I've mentioned already, free will, right and wrong, these come from a language that is external to the Darwinian language of evolutionary biology. If you're talking about free will, there is nothing in nature that suggests the ability to make a decision free of environment and genetics in combination in some.
Okay, so it sounds like he does agree with, my understanding of free will, that it cannot exist because everything is based on environment and genetics, that everything is predetermined based on the physics and the chemical reactions and the electricity and all that stuff. It sounds like he's agreeing with that. Let's check that. Let's back it up.
In language of evolutionary biology. If you're talking about free will, there is nothing in nature that suggests the ability to make a decision free of environment and genetics in combination.
Yeah, so he's just saying that we're trying to define what free will is, because that's his starting point. That if we have free will, then you're acting as if you are religious, and then even if you don't believe in a particular God, you're still being religious. Essentially, is what Ben's argument is right now. And it's a strong argument, but it's a long video, and if it was going to be over there, it would have been over there.
Some sort. The same thing is true of right and wrong. The idea that there is a right and there is a moral wrong that we can reason our way to. Another principle that I think that you're obviously very big on, it's something that you rely on all the time. Your entire podcast is based on the idea of reason.
Again, so now we have two things that religious people are going to say, well, we don't know why God said this is right and this is wrong, but we know that God said this is right and this is wrong. Whereas the atheist, or let's just say the secular individual, is going to look to the reasons. Why do we not want to hurt each other? Why do we not want to steal things from each other? And come to laws and values and stuff from that way.
These ideas do not exist in the context of a purely materialist atheist universe. Now, I'm not going to make the claim that I can prove that it's God who's behind those things, because one of the principles of faith belief is that I don't understand God.
And that's the biggest mistake that so many religious people make when they are trying to make this specific argument, that even if you don't believe, religion is still good for society, if that's your position. I forgot exactly what he said. What did he say? Hold on.
In those things, because one of the principles of faith belief is that I don't understand God.
Right. So the idea that, we can't understand this. So the logic and reasoning and rationality behind it isn't our mode of understanding this. It's faith. He says, religion is just a form of comprehension, a basic form of natural science. Man learns everything from nature after all. Great.
So for people who don't believe in God, that's an easy way out, right? That's an easy way out for people like me, because I say, well, I don't have to explain the relationship between God and free will, because frankly, I don't fully understand God. But that's not really that's not really an open window. That's just part of pretty much all faith systems.
I agree with him, but what did he say? I'm not trying to prove that. And that's one step towards the American identity that I talk about. And, real quick, if you haven't heard it before, I believe that, that as so many conservatives want to come back to religion and God and Jesus and all that stuff, there's too many people who have who have conservative values, but simply cannot believe in a God. And so trying to force morality to be the same as God is not working. And it's turning a lot of people into leftists. So with Ben saying that he realizes all of this stuff can't be, nailed down by logic, reason, science, etc., is one step above, or one step ahead of most people who say, "Oh, it's Jesus or nothing. It's Jesus or nothing." Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that clip, check out the full live stream link in the bio, and catch me live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. See you there.